recently I saw something in the hospital that stuck with me all day. I'd only started my day, but just when I was about to log into the EPR software, tucked in the corner was this, a Bionic Heart. And immediately my brain went, can I model this in Blender? Maybe in 1 minute? 10 minutes? And if I really pushed it, what about 100? There was only one way to find out. I opened Blender and started building. First up, 1 minute, here we go. So I defaulted to the most anatomically questionable art style ever created, Minecraft. It's blocky, but it kind of works. It has 4 chambers, give or take, if you account for the air gaps. And we can use the knife tool to carve out the entire heart from this image. It's got arteries, maybe. But it's really a matter of how fast I can cut this out without turning into a complete blob. With 30 seconds left, I'm not worried about skipping a few blocks here and there as long as I trace the entire thing fast enough to convert it into a 3D model in time. And this is really testing my wrist. 9 seconds and I will delete the rest of the faces. Select it and extrude to get some thickness, and done. It kinda looks like a heart, if that heart was built by a sleep-deprived pigeon, but I'm not complaining. Now at 10 minutes, I have room to actually think. Sort of. Quick question before we start. How much blood do you think a human heart pumps in a single day? 7 liters? 70 liters? 700 liters? Or 7,000 liters? And the answer is 7,000 liters, or precisely an average of 7,257 liters per day. That's enough to fill 7 default cubes or 46 barrels of oil a day. Right, let's start with the 10-minute version. This one has to be better, so I'm jumping into sculpt mode. This time I've got anatomically correct references set up. I'm going to try and turn a sphere into general form of ventricles, which are the lower and bigger chambers of the heart. It looks like a peeled mango for now, but it's fine. Mangoes pump blood, right? I've seen hundreds of echo scans, but still, making this in 3D, totally a different ball game. I can just duplicate this and make it into upper 2 chambers of the heart. So that's the right atrium. I can duplicate and rotate it to make the left atrium. Now building the intricate way the main arteries and veins that come off of the heart is a bit challenging, especially with only 7 minutes left, and we still have a glorified potato at our hands for now. I need to be a bit fast here. I can add a single vertex to make these pulmonary arteries, and then add a skin modifier to give it some blocky thickness. And don't worry, we're not making Minecraft this time, because we've got subsurf modifier, and I can just change the thickness according to the vertex weight, and because I can flex my processing power, I can smooth out the entire thing by adding more subdivisions. These arteries send the blood from the heart into the lungs to get it oxygenated. Now I can just duplicate this setup and put it over the right atrium to make the SVC, which is the superior vena cava. It's the big vessel that drains all the blood from the head, neck and arms into the right side of the heart. I'm going to duplicate this again and make it into the pulmonary veins that bring the freshly oxygenated blood from the lungs back into the heart from either side. I'm geeking out a little because the heart is just a miraculous, self-sustaining bioengine, and it's very, very fascinating. Now this is one of the most important arteries, the grandfather of all, the aorta, originating from the left ventricle and responsible to supply fresh oxygenated blood to the entire body. The great thing about this vertex-based setup is that you can move only a couple vertices and gives great control over the form of the object. This is a great blocking out technique in sculpting, and so minute by minute, it's coming together. Not perfect, but organic. Because of the intricacy of these vessels and my stubbornness to make it relatively anatomically correct, I've only got a minute left. So we join everything by remeshing and give it a broad cover by smooth brush to sort of gel everything together. 15 seconds and we need to make the lumens of these big vessels. I can select the clay brush and invert it to bury into the form of the model, and just do this with all the vessels. Nearly there, but the time's up. I'm just going to give it a flesh material that I've made. I have it available for free on my Patreon, so that is 10 minutes done. Honestly, it looks kind of cool if you think it was sculpted in 10 minutes. Right, the final showdown. Time, 100 minutes. Objective, the Bionic Heart. I want to design it along the lines of the illustration from the hospital EPR software. I'm also going to animate the pistons and gears as well. So, by convention, I'm going to delete the default cube to add another cube in its place. But it's actually a rounded cube. I'm going to delete half of it and mirror it to the other side so that everything is nice and proportional. And this is a great segue to proportional editing to make this into a sort of a pear-shaped form. To be fair, it looks more like a strawberry than a pear right now. But this is going to change because I'm squishing it in the y-axis. Now to give it a bionic design, I'm going to add a few plates. Now plating is a great cheat way to add details to your designs. I'm using Boolean workflow for the hard surface modeling just because it's so much faster and convenient once you get the hang of it and are able to problem solve. So I'm just going to make a cut on this side like this and bevel the edges and then convert it into an individual cutout from the mesh. I'm going to isolate this and only select the outer portion of the mesh in the edit mode. Then I'm going to curve extract this and convert it into a plate. And I'm going to be using this technique a ton. As soon as I apply the bevel, I can see the most common problem that comes up with the Boolean workflow and bevels. Close vertices and subsequently overshooting edges. But we've got a solution. I can just do a survey and merge closed vertices into one vertex, and that takes care of the overshooting edges and gives it a clean bevel. Likewise, I'm going to make a plate on the other side as well. Since this is a Bionic Heart, I'm going to take creative freedom with this. I'm going to add as many plates, gears, nuts and bolts to this thing as the time allows. I like the Boolean workflow because of the non-destructive nature and flexibility of the design. Curve extract and another plate is ready. And I think I'm going to make another plate down the bottom here towards the apex of the heart. Same drill, same results. Now let's see. In order to put something mechanical in the place of the vessels, I can make the CPU or control unit here, which will house the pistons as well. I'm going to give it some variation and definitely some plating over here as well. Time has come to make the king vessel, the aorta. I'm going to dig a hole straight through this heart with a circular boolean and maybe adjust it a little bit further down. And then I'm going to make a ring for good definition around the aorta. I'm going to do this by converting the surrounding vertices into a curve. Now, when I shade smooth it, there's another problem. The shading is just stupid. And even with weighted normals, there's these ugly glitches within the curve. I think I know the problem. It's those pesky closed vertices again that are overlapping when the curve is turned into a tube. So if I just click on control point and smooth a couple times, this is going to space out the curve points evenly, and the curve now becomes tasty smooth. Oral consumption not recommended. Now I can just put a cylinder there and build the aorta pipe. Now let's see, I'm thinking of making half of this metallic and half of this glass, where I can see the internal gears. So I put a metallic plate over half of the body of the device. In the spirit of the steampunk design, I'm going to make a locking wheel, and this is going to be very interesting once I animate this. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to make this turn with each beat of the ventricle, but there's still some way to go till I'm there, so bear with me. To simulate the beat of the upper two chambers of the atria, I'm going to put a smaller wheel there on the control station as well. Smaller because the upper two chambers are smaller in size than the lower two chambers. Great, I'm happy with the design so far, so now I'm going to make two pistons. One small piston will be for the smaller atrial compression, and the other will be for the larger ventricular compression, like a hydraulic pump, if you will. You'll know why this is relevant in just a bit, and that's the bit which I'm excited for. At the backside, I'm just going to make an exhaust chamber and, maybe a few cooling pipes that run between the control and the pumping chambers. I really love that I have creative freedom with this sort of design. With hard surface designs, I don't have to be an engineer. It should just only look fairly plausible. So, I'm going to do the gears now. Going to place the screw decals wherever they're screwing needed, and they work sort of like magic, where there is even a parallax effect and they look super convincing and provide a very efficient way to add details. With the main screws in place, let's see where else we can add a bit more detail with decals. I think a decal could go here on the control unit. That looks fairly fine. Maybe a speaker-like function over here. I think it looks fine. This detailing decal here would work, I think, perfectly. On the side plate here, I think a plugging mechanism for power supply would make some sort of sense. And on the other side, I'm going to place a handling hook decal, as if we can carry the device by it. 2 minutes left on the clock, and I'm going to put some branding on the device. We're nearly there. I think probably a power button here would work, and a last decal here at the top. That is 100 minutes. Done. But do you know what? I'm going to take this a step further. If I add some lights at the top and bottom, blue lights for deoxygenated blood and red light for oxygenated blood at the bottom, and I'm going to sync the power of these lights according to the beating of the heart and movement of the pistons and locking handles, all dancing in harmony together. Here I've got a diagram of the cardiac cycle. This is a complete contraction and relaxation cycle of the heart, where it fills up with the blood and then it pumps it to the entire body before repeating this over and over again. The entire cycle lasts for 0.8 seconds. The atrial systole, which is the duration taken by the upper two chambers to contract, is 0.1 second. The smaller piston is the atrial piston, and 1 second is 30 frames. So if you multiply 30 by 0.1, this gives us the duration of the atrial piston to fully compress, which is 3 frames. Now for the next 0.7 seconds, there's atrial diastole, which is the duration where the upper chambers are relaxing or decompressing. So this is the duration which the pistons will take to go back to their original position. And we put a keyframe over there. Now the ventricular systole, which is the contraction or compression of the two lower chambers, is represented by the ventricular piston here. And it starts at 0.1 seconds, which is frame 3. And it lasts till 0.4 seconds, which comes as frame 24 with similar calculation that I did before with the frame rate. Now the ventricular diastole, which is when the ventricles relax or decompress to fill up with the blood, lasts for 0.5 seconds as a reference from the diagram. Same calculation corresponds to frame 27. And if I turn both these piston animations to cyclic, this goes on forever. Sweet. But that's not it. I need to sync the movement of the pistons with the corresponding locking wheels, and I'm going to do it using drivers to map the Z location to the Y rotation of the wheels. And done. As one of the final things, I'm going to rearrange the gears such that the teeth interlock with each other and duplicate these a number of times in different configurations to give it a bit of a complexity. Now again, using drivers, the pistons will drive the rotation of the gears, so the speed of the ventricular piston drives the rotation of the gears. The final thing is to drive the lights with the location of the pistons using the same technique. When the pistons compress, the fluid is taken out of the heart and they dim down. When the pistons decompress or move upward, the chambers fill up with the fluid and the light intensifies. And so now I'm finally done and my creative soul rests in peace. The flesh material is available for free on my Patreon, so feel free to go there. You can also get access to the project files and some other forbidden knowledge from there as well. You can sign up for my free email newsletter called The Limitless Creative. You'll get free access to the light version of Cascade, which is my real-time Alembic cloth simulation library. Let me know which art version was your favorite and what should I try next. Until then, keep your hearts healthy, or at least polygonal. Farewell.